How do you know when someone is lying to you? We're going to help you understand people's body language in this episode of
Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig.
Hello and welcome to the podcast, especially if you're a new listener and this is the first time you're listening to us. My name's Craig.
And my name's Reza.
And we've been teaching for a long time. Together we're going to help you improve your English and take everything, your grammar, your pronunciation, your vocabulary, up to the next level. How are you, Reza?
I'm fine, Craig. How are you?
I'm okay. I've got a bit of a cold, so you may hear that my voice is a little bit nasally, but apart from that, I'm okay. And you?
Well, I'm afraid my voice is as nasal as ever.
But you're feeling okay.
I'm feeling okay. It's no worse than normal.
That's good. Anyway, we're starting this week's episode with a voice message from Eurico from Brazil, who's coming to visit Spain this month.
Hello, Weza and Greg. My name is Eurico. I am from Brazil. Congratulations for the podcast. It's free. It's pretty good. Many records made to guys. Very important from students in the world. My wife and I go to Spanish in December 2018. Go to Spanish and go to French. I like the Belgium. All right. Congratulations again, the podcast. See you soon, guys.
Well, Eurico, I think, is in Spain possibly as we record this. It's December at the time of recording, 2018. So if you are here, Eurico, welcome to Spain. And I apologize for not playing your message sooner. You sent this message, I think, about 2 months ago. So one or two things I think we can improve, Reza, on his message. Did you catch anything that could be improved?
Yes, there were a couple of things. Vocabulary. The most obvious thing was that I think you confused nationality with country. So you're coming to Spain. You're also going to France. But you said Spanish and French, but they're nationalities, they're adjectives. So the countries Spain and France and Belgium.
And one more thing, Eurico, you said we go to Spain in December. If you have a plan, if you have something that you know you're definitely going to do in the future, use the present continuous. We're going to Spain in December. If it's something in your diary, in your agenda, if it's something that you're definitely doing, a plan or an arrangement, present continuous. You can use present simple for the future, but it's usually used with schedules, timetables, buses, flights. For example, we're going to Spain in December. Our flight leaves at 3:00 on December the 2nd. So if you're speaking about a bus or a train or an aeroplane flight, yes, you can use the present simple for the future, but not for a plan. Did you catch anything else, Reza?
Well, there was a thing which you did and then you corrected yourself, Eurico. But in fact, you were right. I think you said my wife and me, and then you said, my wife and I. In fact, it doesn't really matter in modern English which one you say. I suppose many years ago, people might have insisted that it should be my wife and I. But in modern English, particularly informal English, we tend to say me, my wife and me, my friends and me.
And finally, congratulations on. Remember that preposition with congratulations. So congratulations on your podcast, on your birthday, on your anniversary, etc. Well, we hope you're having a wonderful time if you're in Spain already, and also in France when you go there after Spain. So thanks again, Yuriko, for your message.
Okay, Craig, let's get down to business. As we said at the beginning.
What does that mean? Get down to business.
Yeah, good point. Get down to business. We're not going to try and sell you anything. Don't worry. You don't have to pay us any money. It's just an expression to get down to business that means we're going to start the important work, the principal work. So we've given you some feedback, which is very important. We've talked about other things, but let's get down to business. Let's start the main topic for today, which is body language. But just to remind you, we did a related episode about personal space. That was a while ago. I think that was episode 161. So if you have a look at inglespodcast.com/161, you'll see our episode on personal space, which has related language to this. We talk about handshakes and kissing when you meet someone and the differences between Spanish and British cultures. But in this episode, we're going to specifically concentrate on body language, which includes personal space, but we're focusing more on actual movements and parts of the body.
That's right. And if you want to listen, go back and listen to that episode on personal space. It's inglespodcast.com/161. Now, we're going to speak about body language and what different body language means, but we need to check some vocabulary with you first. Just revise some words before we speak about the body language. So the first thing is to bite. Morder. Now be careful of bite because it's an irregular verb, to bite. The past is bit, B-I-T, and the third form bitten, B-I-T-T-E-N. I have been bitten by a snake, for example.
Oh dear, that sounds quite serious.
That was an example. I haven't been bitten by a snake. You can also bite your lip. And you can say to someone who's eating a lovely piece of chocolate cake, can I have a bite? Because bite is also a noun.
This summer, I was bitten a lot by mosquitoes. They were terrible. They were terrible in Spain this year.
They were, yeah.
Really, really bad.
Every year seems to be getting worse.
As a result of those mosquito bites, bite can also be a noun. As a result of those bites, picaduras, I ended up rubbing myself a lot. To rub is frotar. So very often if a mosquito bites you, you feel the necessity to rub, R-U-B, frotar your skin.
When you rub your skin, you usually use your fingers, although you can use a cloth. For example, if there's a stain, una mancha, on the desk, or you spill something and you want to rub it, frotar. But if you use your fingernails, the verb is to scratch, S-C-R-A-T-C-H, to scratch, rascar. I scratched my head, or the cat scratched my arm with its nails.
Another verb involving the hand is to clasp. That's C-L-A-S-P, clasp. And it basically means to hold, but to hold very tightly. So agarrar, maybe in Spanish, because you can hold, for example, a glass in your hand if you're having a drink of water, but you wouldn't normally clasp the glass. You would just hold it. So clasp means with a lot of pressure.
Hip, H-I-P, means cadera, and it has another meaning, doesn't it, Reza? So you have your hips, you shake your hips when you dance, perhaps. And what's the other meaning of hip?
I'm sure a lot of Spanish people have heard the other word, hip, the adjective, which means cool. I'm sure you all know the word hipster. That's got into Spanish language. So a hipster is a person who is hip. They're cool, they're trendy, they know all about the latest tendencies.
And there's a famous expression, to be as hip as an English teacher. Have you heard that one?
I haven't heard that.
No, English teachers usually are not hip. No.
Some of them might be hippies, but not hipsters.
Another verb you need to know is to stroke, S-T-R-O-K-E. Acariciar. For example, if you have a pet in your house, a dog or a cat, then you probably stroke your pet.
I love stroking Coco.
And does he like it when you stroke him?
He does. Most of the time he likes it. Unless, if I do it too much, he kind of moves his head away. But generally he likes it. And you know what? Doctors have researched this, and this is true, honestly. There's a lot of evidence which says that people who spend a lot of time stroking dogs or cats reduce their blood pressure.
And live longer. I've heard that.
It's really true. So go out there and start stroking dogs and cats. Well, if a ferocious, angry-looking dog is barking, maybe don't try and stroke that. But if you see a nice little gentle dog, go and stroke that.
Cats and dogs sometimes like to be stroked under the chin.
Oh,
How
yes.
do you say chin in Spanish?
Yeah, la barbilla. That's one of their favorite places to be stroked.
I like to be stroked under my chin as well. To tug, T-U-G, is to pull. And if you imagine a very, very big ship that needs to go along a river or the mouth of a river, sometimes you have very small but powerful boats pulling the ship along the river, and they are called tugboats. So T-U-G, tug, means to pull.
Do you like to be tugged yourself, Craig?
No, but
Thankfully we have editing.
I like to tug Coco's tail.
Right, okay. Craig, do you like to be patted? So the verb to pat is when you touch something, but you don't stroke it, you just touch it once, like you pat a dog's head. So you just touch it with your palm, la palma, open. You touch it. Maybe 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 times you might pat it, or just once. Do you like to be patted on the head?
Not on the head. I like to be patted on the back, because if you give someone a pat on the back, that's a congratulations very often. And you should give him a pat on the back for passing the exam, or give him a pat on the back for his promotion. So to pat someone on the back is to congratulate them.
Coco prefers pats on the head or pats on the bottom. He quite likes that. But friendly pats, not the sort of movement if you are angry, if you hit someone. No, just a friendly little pat on the bottom. He likes that too.
If the pat is too strong, it becomes a slap. So that's not good. Next word, to pinch, which in Spanish is pellizcar. For example, my grandmother used to pinch me on the cheek. When I went to visit her, she would take 2 fingers, pinch my cheek, and give me a kiss.
Where can you find the cheek?
Mejilla, on the side of the face. So 2 cheeks, both sides of your mouth.
People in English sometimes say that they have to pinch themselves. So why would you pinch yourself? Well, because something is so strange, so incredible, you can't believe it, that you pinch yourself to see if you can feel the pinch, and then you're really awake, that it's not just a dream. So people pinch themselves to feel the pain or the sensation of the pinch, so they know it's not a dream. So that's why we say, I had to pinch myself to see if it was really true.
For example, if there's a box of chocolates on the table, maybe I think I'm dreaming. I'd say, hey, pinch me. I can't believe there's a box of chocolates on the table. Please pinch me.
Believe me, with Craig around, that box won't be there for long.
Yes, I will eat the chocolates very briskly. Now, if you do something briskly, you do it fast. You do it quickly. B-R-I-S-K. Brisk means fast. So, for example, you could go for a brisk walk. Do you often go for brisk walks with the dog?
Sadly, no. I go for many walks with the dog, Coco, but they're not brisk. I'm afraid he likes to walk at a leisurely speed.
Very slowly.
Yes, and he stops and he sniffs things and smells things. I prefer walking fast myself. What about you? I like a brisk walk. And you?
No, I don't. I prefer walking slowly, looking around, enjoying the scenery, watching people. I don't really walk very briskly, very quickly.
Tap is a word which some of you might know as something you would find in a kitchen or a bathroom, el grifo, where the water comes out of. But there's another meaning of tap, dar golpecitos. Can you hear that? Craig is tapping on the microphone. Or sometimes people tap softly on the door. So I tap. Did you hear that? I tapped softly on the door before I went in. So a tap is a soft sound, not a violent sound. When you touch something several times, but without too much force.
You can tap somebody on the shoulder. If you want to get their attention, you tap them on the shoulder with your finger to tap. If your computer screen is not at the correct angle, for example, the light is reflecting off the screen, maybe you have to tilt the screen a little. To tilt, T-I-L-T, is inclinarse. So you move the screen, you change the angle so that you can see the screen well. You're tilting the screen to tilt.
You know what Coco does when he wants me to feel sorry for him?
Tilts his head?
Exactly. A classic trick that dogs do. They tilt their head instead of looking at you with their head vertically. They put it slightly diagonally. They tilt it. And they seem to know that that makes you feel sorry for them. They're very clever.
They are. Upright means vertical. So if you're sitting upright, your back is straight and you're sitting upright.
A word that Craig used earlier was cheek. Do you remember he said that his grandmother used to pinch him on the cheek? La mejilla, part of the face. There is another type of cheek, but I'm not sure if we are going to explain it, are we?
I don't know, are we?
There are cheeks on your face,
Yeah.
but you can find other cheeks on your body.
Where, Reza?
Your bottom.
Ah,
Your bottom cheeks.
that's true. If you pinch somebody's bottom cheeks, that's completely different.
Very different.
That's not what my grandmother did.
No, and unless you know them very well, it's probably illegal and you're going to get into a lot of trouble. So another meaning of cheek is, in fact, you have two cheeks that make up your bottom. The two halves of your bottom are the two cheeks as well. It's the same word in English as mejilla, curiously.
The adjective cheeky means con mucha cara. I don't know if you use that expression in Latin America, but mucha cara, cheeky.
I think they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, all over the Spanish-speaking world. Or in Castilla y León, they say quejeta.
Quejeta.
Jeta is the cheek there. That part of the pig's face that they eat. La jeta.
It's really tasty, actually.
On Valencia, they tend to say que morro.
Que morro.
What a cheek, yeah.
What a cheek. How cheeky of you. So, we've looked at some vocabulary. Now let's look at this vocabulary in context and see what these body language examples mean. So I've got some examples of typical body language. Now, Reza doesn't know this, but I've only given him the description of the body language. I also have a definition of what it means. So I'm going to test Reza and see if he can guess more or less what he thinks the body language means when somebody is showing this kind of body language. You ready, Reza?
Okay.
Okay, so a person has their arms crossed. Maybe they're sitting, maybe they're standing, but their arms are folded, their arms are crossed in front of their body. What do you think that means?
I think it could mean that they're relaxed because people normally don't cross their arms when they're nervous. But it could also mean that they're bored, you know? Yeah, I think boredom is quite often expressed by crossed arms or even irritation.
Okay.
What
yep.
do psychologists say about that?
Well, this is a psychologist, but it's also from the FBI because the FBI have studied body language when they're interviewing potential criminals and they want to know how the suspect is behaving. This, as you say, it could be those things you've said, but they tend to think it's someone being defensive. if your limbs or your arms or your legs are crossed before you, that could be that you are in a defensive position. What about biting nails? As we said before, but to bite is morder. So you're biting your nails. What does that show somebody looking at you?
Biting nails. Nails are las uñas. That can definitely be a sign of nervousness.
Correct.
Yeah. That would be the main thing, I would say. Nervousness or suffering stress, that type of thing.
They also say insecurity. Yeah. What about eye rubbing? So a person is rubbing their eyes with their fingers or their hand.
Well, the most obvious thing I know, because I do it myself, is that I'm tired.
Yeah.
I rub my eyes when I'm tired.
Me too.
But it could also be, I think, nervousness or restlessness. You're not quite sure what to do.
They also say disbelief or doubt. Doubt is duda. So if you're not believing something that someone's telling you, maybe you'd rub your eyes. Next one, your legs crossed. So your legs are crossed and your hands are clasped behind your head. We had the word clasp before, which means to hold. So you're holding both hands together behind your head and your legs are crossed.
The combination of those two things, because I would consider them different separately. Yeah, but having the legs crossed and the hands behind the head clasped, to me seems relaxation. You're very relaxed. You're very at ease.
I would agree with that. Yes, that's definitely what they're saying. And also feeling confident. Maybe overconfident, especially if you're leaning back in your chair with your hands behind your head, maybe overconfident. Okay, next one. Legs crossed again, but one foot is kicking slightly.
What's kick?
To kick is dar una patada con tu pierna. And your head is in your hand and your eyes are down.
Let me think about that one. Head in the hand, eyes down.
Imagine one of your students in class, their legs crossed, their foot's kind of kicking, their head is in their hand and they're looking down.
Boredom?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Very good. Boredom. You're bored. Okay, next one. Hands on hips. Hips, we said before, cadera.
Like Craig right now, by the way.
Well, I have one hand on my hip, but both hands on your hips.
See, that's different, yeah. Because for me, one hand on the hip is not the same as two hands on the hip. Could be very different. Craig just now had one hand on his hips, but I think it was purely because he was supporting his back because he's standing up and it was to be comfortable. But if it's your two hands on your hips, that's different. It's a thing which I think women do more than men. Perhaps I'm being sexist, but it's a thing I identify more with women. And quite often it's to show, I think, annoyance or to pretend, that means fingir, to be annoyed. So imagine I made fun, jokingly, not seriously, of my girlfriend. She might put her hands on her hips and say something back to me like, oh, don't say that. And she puts her hands on her hips to show that, oh, she's annoyed. But maybe she's only pretending to be annoyed.
I like the way you're thinking. Let me say two words to you. Superman and Wonder Woman.
Oh, right, yeah.
They often stand with their hands on their hips, and the experts say it's ready for action, maybe aggressive, which is very similar to your definition.
Yeah, I get the bit about the aggression because if I've annoyed my girlfriend, she puts her hands on hips like to say, be careful what you say next. Though quite often I think it's done in a joking way. But yeah, I get it. The aggression, the power. Be careful what you do to me.
I'm ready for action. Okay, next one. Stroking the chin. So you're stroking the chin with your hands, your fingers, and you're tugging your ear or pulling your ear.
I think either of those or both together are often identified to do with you being very thoughtful. You're thinking about something. You're considering something.
Yes, very, very good. And it says also trying to decide, make a decision. Okay, open hands. You're standing or sitting with your hands open. This is something I definitely recommend if you're giving a presentation, if you're speaking at a job interview. It's a very, very good idea to have your hands open. Why? What does it show?
Very basically openness, open hands, openness. You're open, you're alert, you're listening, you're ready to accept new ideas, you're open.
Exactly. And also sincerity, and innocence. If you think there's no weapons, there's no sword, there's no knife, there's no weapons, I'm open and I am not going to hurt you. So it goes back to caveman days when we lived in caves, not seeing any threat, not seeing any violence. Okay, next one, hair patting. So you're patting your hair as if you're patting a dog, and maybe also scratching the head, perhaps.
Let me think about that.
Exactly. You've got it.
What could that be?
You've said it.
Thinking about something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thinking about something.
Yeah, particularly if you scratch your head, particularly. But yeah, also patting, yeah.
Or maybe if you pat your head, you could feel insecure or lack confidence. That could also suggest that sometimes. Okay, next one. Your eyes are closed and you're pinching the bridge of your nose. The bridge of the nose is the top of the nose in between the eyes. So in between the eyes, you're pinching that with your finger and thumb, and also maybe with your eyes closed.
It could be, again, thinking about something very, very deeply. To be in deep thought. That's why your eyes are closed. So you've shut out the visual world so you can concentrate on your inner thoughts, your really deep thoughts. Could be that, but I think quite often it's also a sign of annoyance. If something really annoys you, you close your eyes, pinch your nose as if to go, oh, I can't believe this. And the closing of the eyes shows that you wish you weren't there, or that you couldn't see what you're seeing. So I think it could be either of those. What do the experts say?
Well, it makes a lot of sense. You do make a lot of sense. But the experts say that it doesn't think much of what you're saying. So if you're telling me something and I think, oh, that's a load of rubbish, I don't agree with that, that's not true, then I would perhaps close my eyes and pinch my nose. Brisk hand rubbing. We said before that brisk means quickly, fast. So you're rubbing your hands together briskly.
You're waiting for something to happen, or you're ready for action.
Yes, what kind of thing? Something good or bad?
Generally good.
Yes,
Generally
excellent.
Good. Or something that you want to get over with, something that you want to do now rather than later.
Yeah, looking forward to something that's going to happen. Okay, drumming or tapping fingers. So your fingers are drumming like maybe on the table, on the desk.
A sign of impatience,
Correct.
maybe, or also nervousness because you've got a problem and you're not quite sure what to do about it. Either of those things, yeah.
Exactly, and those are the two words I have down here from the experts: impatience and nervousness. Also, when you're clicking a pen, that would also indicate nervousness and impatience.
Ooh, and that's something I hate to witness.
Me too.
I don't know if I do it myself, but being in a room where someone keeps clicking a pen drives me crazy.
And students do it sometimes, and they tap the pen on the desk, and it's really annoying. Okay, next one, tilting the head, which we said was putting the head to one side, like Coco does occasionally, to tilt the head.
We know why Coco does it. Coco does it because it makes us feel sorry for him. He looks cute, mono, and we think, oh, poor Coco. But why do people do it? Maybe for the same reason, maybe, or maybe I'm thinking to show that incredulous, that you can't really credit, you can't really believe what someone's saying. You put your head to one side and you might say, really? I'm not sure I believe that. Something like that?
Well, the experts say that it usually means that you're interested in what someone's saying. So it shows interest if your head is to one side.
Oh.
Interesting. Touching or rubbing the nose is the next one. So not pinching, but just touching or rubbing maybe the side of the nose.
Well, the most obvious thing, and I do it a lot, is because my nose is itchy, pica. and I want to scratch it. But if it's not the reason, it could be because I think people often do that when they're telling a lie.
Yes, you've got it.
Yeah.
Possibly lying, but always in doubt about something. So there's a doubt, and that's why they're touching their nose. Okay, you see somebody walking briskly, quickly, and upright. What does that show? Someone walking along, they're very upright, their back is straight, they're walking quickly.
I think, to be honest, in reality, not a lot. Doesn't really tell you a lot. But I guess it could, because it's so easy to fake that thing here, you know? And nobody would know that you're not doing it naturally. But if you do it naturally, I guess it suggests that you're going somewhere, you have real purpose. You've got something to do.
It also says that it shows confidence. So if you want to look confident, make sure you're walking quickly and your back is very straight and upright.
Yeah, you said it, to look confident. I think people often do it even when they don't feel confident, but they think, oh, if I back upright, walk quickly, you know, and look like I know what I'm doing, they might not really feel confident, but they know that they'll look confident. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, it's useful to know because some people walk with their head down, they're bent over, and they don't look very confident. Okay, next one. Your hand is on your cheek. So you see somebody with their hand on their cheek.
I presume we're talking about the facial cheeks again.
Yes, not your bum, Reza, your face.
Hand on the cheek. Couple of things. I think it could be you're just thinking about something. You've got
Exactly.
a decision to make.
That's it.
But I also think it can be when you feel sorry for someone.
Yeah,
Pity.
possibly.
Like you see something like somebody's had an accident and you put your hand on your cheek and you think, oh, that poor person, look, they've been hit by a car.
Yeah. Could be. Yeah. Well, they say thinking and evaluating. So evaluating something also. Next one, hands behind your back. You see somebody with their hands behind their back.
Uh-huh.
Imagine a mother or a father looking at their child with a hand behind their back,
Or indeed a school teacher. You're about to tell someone what they have to do or what they should do, or to tell them off. That means recriminate them because they've done something bad.
renir.
Yeah, you're looking authoritative. Like you've got to tell someone the rules, what they've got to do.
I'd agree with that. The experts say apprehension also, frustration, possibly anger. It could be the way you stand when you're angry. Finally, one last one, looking down with the face turned away. So you're speaking to somebody and they are looking down and their face is turned away to one side.
I think the person who's doing that is embarrassed. Could be because of what you're saying to them, or because they've done something they shouldn't, or they're not being truthful or something like that. That's why they don't want to look you in the eye.
Yep, I think that sounds very logical. The experts say also that it shows that somebody does not believe what you're saying. So if you're speaking to somebody and they're looking down and turned away, maybe they don't believe you. So Reza, do you pay much attention to people's body language when you're speaking to somebody? Do you look for these things? Do you notice them?
I do. Not all the time, but I often find myself paying attention to someone's body language.
And what do you look for in particular? Is there one thing that you focus on?
Nothing in particular, no. I just, without trying to analyze the technicalities too much, I just kind of think, what does this movement or what do these movements suggest to me? Mm-hmm. So I don't think like an FBI agent. I just try and observe and get a general impression. But to be honest, above all, the most important thing for me is the face. So body language is important, but I do like to observe people's faces when I'm engaged with them in a conversation. I think it's very important.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, especially the eyes. If you look at somebody's eyes, you can often tell if they're interested in what you're saying, if they're bored, if they're looking away, maybe they want to go. Yeah, that's very true.
I think it's very, very hard to disguise the emotions in your eyes. I think it's quite easy with body language and even with other facial gestures, smiles, frowns, when you fruncir, like I'm angry or something. That's quite easy to fake, but the eyes...
I'm not sure with the smile, because there's the false smile that where the mouth moves and smiles, but the eyes don't. Because a genuine, real smile, you see the lines at the side of the eyes, and you see the eyes shining in a way that doesn't happen when you're faking a smile and pretending, fingir, to smile.
Yep.
So that's something I look for sometimes.
In fact, I think all of us pay a lot of attention to eyes. I think it's maybe the first thing we focus on in a person. If it's visible, it'll be the first thing we look at. And I must admit, maybe I'm judgmental, but sometimes I see somebody for the first time.
What does judgmental mean?
Judgmental, I judge. I make judgments. Juzgo. I judgmental, making a judgment on something that I don't have any scientific evidence for. But just the look of someone's eyes, sometimes if I don't like the look of their eyes, I just think, I'm not sure I'm going to trust this person. Mm-hmm. They've said nothing. They've done nothing wrong. It's just if their eyes are not to my liking, I tend to be a bit suspicious. Are you the same?
Yes, I am, especially when I first meet people, and I tend to look at the body language of my students in the class, because I think it's quite easy to see if a student is bored in the class by their body language. So that's something I notice. How aware are you of your own body language? Are you conscious and aware of your body language at social events or in class, for example, or when you go to a party?
Me personally, I think about average, typical, not much more or much less than most people. But I know there are occasions when I stop and think, okay, maybe I shouldn't sit like this. For example, I'm looking a bit too relaxed in this chair and I'm at a job interview, so I better sit upright and look more interested, Mm-hmm. Just so they know, so they can see it. I am interested, but I want them to be absolutely sure. So I'm going to give them all the right body language signs.
There's one thing I do when I'm examining for an English exam, a formal exam. I try to make myself as small as possible in the chair. So I don't want to intimidate the candidate. I don't want to seem too much of an authority figure. So I make myself very small. I bring my arms to my sides. I lower my chair and try not to be too big in the room. And I think that psychologically might help the students to have a better exam.
Yeah. For me, and I suppose for many people all over the world, something I never like to see when it comes to body language, the archetypal, the classic nightmare body language scene is, I walk into an office, particularly if it's a civil servant, and there he or she is with their feet up on the desk, hands clasped behind the back, looking very relaxed. I think, this is going to be a lot of hard work for me.
It's going to be a long afternoon.
This person is in no rush. They're relaxed. They're not nervous. They're perhaps overconfident, as Craig said. They're not going to make my life easy.
Yeah, especially if they're not making eye contact, which means they're not interested in you whatsoever. Okay, well, we're going to stop there. We will be speaking about romantic body language in the future and how you can tell when somebody is attracted to you and maybe if you're attracted to the other person. We'll be speaking about that very soon. If you're interested in this kind of thing, I'd like to recommend 2 books to you. There's one called What Everybody is Saying. It's by Joe Navarro, who is an ex-FBI agent. So the link to that book will be in the show notes at inglespodcast.com/238. Another very enjoyable book that I've read is called Reading People by Joellen Dimitrius, who is a jury expert. She helped pick people for jury service in courts, and she co-wrote the book with Mark Mazzarella. So again, the names and links to those books can be found in the show notes.
Now, what about you? It's your turn to practice your English. Why not send us a voice message? Send it to speakpipe.com/Inglespodcast. Or you could send us an email if you prefer to write with a comment or a question. You could send one to me, that's belfastreza@gmail.com.
Or to me, that's craig@inglespodcast.com. And before we go, we'd like to thank our wonderful patrons, all of them on Patreon, who are supporting the podcast. Their names are on the website. Special thanks to Bruno, our gold sponsor, who offers walking tours of Copenhagen in English and in Spanish. If you're going to Copenhagen or you're there now, you can find more information at copenhagenwalkingtour.com. Also, he has tours in Rio, led by local guides. It's safe, it's in the favela area, and it helps the community to improve their daily needs. So information on that tour can be found at Bruno's website, favelawalkingtour.com.br. Reza, has anybody new joined our Patreon program this month?
Indeed, they have. You can see the names of all our Patreon sponsors in the show notes, but we're just going to read out the names of our latest sponsors, who are Caro Torres, Jose Maria Hernandez, Carmen Martinez, Rafael Castro Guzman, and Juan Pablo Chamorro Villoria. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us.
Yes, thank you. It's lovely to have new Patreon members. And if you would like to become part of our wonderful group of superheroes supporting the podcast and our transcriptions, you can join it for as little as $1 per month or as much as you like. And you can get instant access to recent transcriptions that have been fantastically transcribed by Angelica. So to do that, go to patreon.com, patreon.com/Inglespodcast and join our team.
Craig, what have we got on next week's episode?
Well, next week we're looking at handicrafts, in particular sewing and knitting. So if you like making clothes, fixing clothes, making scarves, knitting, haciendo punto, anything like that, you'll find next week's lesson very useful and interesting. Please join us for that. Thank you for listening this week. And until next time, it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
The music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later.